Good morning to you. It's an absolute honor to have you here on the Forbes Bulgaria ESG Summit. I'll dive straight into the questions because we have very little time, and you're such an inspiration and such a resource that I want to take the best of these 10 minutes that we have with you. From the perspective of a company that is, say, sustainability curious, if a company is in the beginning of their sustainability journey, there is a lot of information out there, but there is no step-by-step guide. So what is your advice? Where would a company like that start from?
Yeah, great question. And hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here as well. And I would say that, or to be sort of there virtually on a very large screen, evidently. I would say that it is a challenge to figure out sort of how to move into the space of driving real impact as a company. And in part, it's hard because there are so many options. So it can be paralyzing to figure out, what to do. So our theory of change, our philosophy is that there's real power in taking a step, taking a step and then building from there. And what we have seen time and time again, even when we get criticized of, oh, that's incrementalism or that's not enough, what we have seen time and time again is when companies take a step, a credible, real step, like 1% for the planet, they then become part of a dynamic of change. And then so many more things can happen from there.
So a step counts. That's amazing.
A step counts because it's always part of movement forward. And, it's a cliche, but I think it's very accurate that to get to any summit, you start with one step and you gain energy as you go as well.
That's amazing. So 1% for the planet, for your 20 plus years of existence, you've done a tremendous job. You've managed to attract thousands of businesses in hundreds of countries to contribute with 1% of their revenue on an annual basis. That's big. You've collected, if I'm not mistaken, more than $500 million to environmental causes. What do you give back to companies? How do you help them in their own sustainability transformation journeys?
Yeah, we do. There's a lot of different values that participation in the 1% model brings. So one is it's a proven way to take that first step or a step on the journey. It may not be the first step. So, it creates a structure for taking action, and it's very simple. And as you noted, simple is not necessarily small. The 1% of revenues is not insignificant, but it is simple and clear. So that's one of the values that we offer. The other is that, or one of the others is that we provide advising on how to do effective philanthropy. So figuring out how to give strategically in ways that really align with other objectives of the company can be challenging. And that's our expertise. That's what we do all the time with thousands of companies. So we become, a trusted partner, almost a consultant in some companies around how to transform giving from something that maybe wasn't done at all, maybe was done at the end of the year if there was a little bit of extra profit, into something that really becomes a core part of the operational and financial strategy. Another value is the access to a community of companies that are innovating and making change and figuring out how to be positive impact driving companies globally. And that's a huge value that many of our companies kind of understand for the first time when they come to one of our events. It's an amazing group of companies that are courageous, that are smart, that have, walked the path. And so direct access, and we have a Slack channel for all those companies, direct access is a really huge value. We also vet all of our nonprofits. Sorry, the list goes on. There are many values. We vet all of our nonprofits. We have a rigorous process to decide who meets our impact criteria. And so there's a lot of just trust and confidence that companies can have. And because we then certify annually that members are giving to vetted nonprofits at the level of 1%. It's also a very credible model. So at a time when greenwashing is a real concern and is increasingly, being regulated, 1% for the planet represents a really strong way to do the opposite of greenwashing, to make a very credible and certified commitment.
It's amazing. Sorry about that. So is there a specific profile of NGOs or businesses that you help best? Can any organizations from Bulgaria participate in 1% for the planet?
Absolutely. We have a very diverse network in terms of industry, geography, impact area. So we're currently in probably about 50 different business sectors, including the service industry. And that's actually been one of our biggest growth areas. So initially we were more in the product, consumer product zone, because, you think of putting a logo on a product, but consumers are increasingly thinking about not just the food or beauty products they buy, but also, who their marketing partners are, who they're doing business with. So we've really expanded across all different sectors. We are in about 60 different countries, and our biggest growth area right now is Europe. I'm actually leaving on Monday for a trip that will have me in Amsterdam, Brussels, and Paris. So would welcome Bulgarian members and would love to come and visit all of you at some point.
You have an extended invitation for next year. To the companies that still perceive sustainability as a cost center, how do you convince them that it could actually be a profit center?
We increasingly have data to help us with that. So, among the data are examples of businesses who have grown significantly while they're members, while others in their same industry have not grown at that same rate. So it's correlation, not causation, but we are getting some increasingly clear examples of the ways in which, real engagement in building sustainability and positive impact into businesses with 1% for the planet as a piece of that can really be a contributor to strong growth, especially strong growth relative to the comparable market, and it's often outperforming there. The other thing we can highlight, which is I'm sure you are all aware of, is the consumer data. Consumers are very eager to have real opportunities to allocate their purchasing dollars, again, whether it's services or products, to companies that represent solutions, that represent sustainable change, that have a credible purpose. So 1% for the planet is a very clear and well-regarded signal of that. So we have some good studies from companies about how 1% for the planet has increased their the brand affiliation with some of their key markets. So we continue to dig into that, but it's been really exciting to see good data on brand and revenue growth.
That's amazing. Speaking of numbers, why 1%? Is 1% enough? And what is really the end goal? What would you say is the definition of a sustainability job well done, at least on a company perspective?
Mm-hmm. 1% is not a magic number. It's essentially a number that's real. So as you noted, 1% of top line revenues is significant. And, some people hear it and they think, oh, that's not enough. But anyone who's managed a business knows that actually is a significant amount. It's also, it also just has power, like people can wrap their heads around it. So it really, back to where I started, it really immediately stands out as kind of a simple step that someone could take. So it's that really nice kind of sweet spot of being a true big commitment, but also you can wrap your head around it and it has some energy to it. In terms of like how we'll know that we're there, I look forward to an economy where every business represents a solution, not just an impact. And I think we're moving there. I think we're having many new businesses that are starting that are purely solutions. And then we're seeing a lot of companies transition. There's obviously a lot of work that we need to do, and it's going to take, 1%. It's going to take B-Lab. It's going to take companies internally getting really smart about their supply chain. It's going to take, acknowledging that we need to, measure scope 3 emissions, not just scope 1 and 2. So there is certainly change to be made, but, our theory of change, again, I'll go back to that, is that simple actions done repeatedly in community enable us to scale change globally, because we are then able to do more. You gain so much energy. We have so many companies who step into 1%, and then 5 years later, they're not only continuing to give their 1% annually, but they're also transforming their products from plastic to a fully recycled line, things like that. And that's happening all the time. And so we really believe in that progress that we can make.
That's amazing. So essentially, becoming part of the 1% for the planet community could be the first step, the A step towards this future that you just described. Thank you very much. Our time is out, and it was a tremendous honor once to have you here with us. And I hope we see you in person next time.
I would love that. Thank you so much for this opportunity.